So, as I mentioned before, today's session will be in English because we have some special guests. As you already know, today we'll have Burce Temkin, but also we have some friends from Serbia and also will join from Moldova and Bulgaria. And it's great to have you all here today. First, I want to say how happy I am to have you here, our amazing Romanian CX community, as well as our friends from other countries. As I mentioned before, we also have people that register from Australia and Puerto Rico. I'm curious to see if they will join us. And it's truly wonderful to see so many of you joining us from different places. And it just goes to show how connected we are all in this field of customer experience. So we are here because we all care about improving customer experience and making a real difference in our company and in the market. So also I want to I have special thanks for the community supporters, Stafino and Geomant, to companies that are close to our community. First, I want to take a moment to emphasize the role and purpose of our community. We started building it in 2021 as a CX platform for CX professionals and enthusiasts. And what I wanted to do with the community is to connect together, to learn, to share best practices, and help grow the industry and also the awareness of CX. And we see the community as a circle of trust. That's why we are connected. We know each other, who will be the next CXP. This is a place where people can ask for advice, knows that the others understand their challenges and speak the same language. Every time we have this webinar or event, I'm so nervous as it is the first time. And what I saw that over time, our activities have expanded. In addition to webinars, as we have today, now we have CX Breakfast conference, the CX Maturity Study, because what we want is to offer a valuable benchmark for the market. We are also fortunate to grow our cycle of friends and to encourage companies to participate and gain recognition at the international level. As you already know, Raiffeisen Bank, Plaxi, Beko, and Raturo last year had a great achievement at the European and International CX Awards. And also, you can connect with the community if you are not already on the Global CS Community platform and also on the LinkedIn Customer Experience Romania page and the group. You have here the QR code for these two these two platforms. Here you can have you'll find resources. You can connect with other peers from Romania and outside. And actually, we invite you to join us in raising awareness about CX and growing this, I can say, this vibrant community. Yesterday, we had a very amazing, I could say, surprise. In the last 3 years, I received this recognition, but it's not my recognition, it's the community recognition. And I'm happy that in these 3 years, we were on the first 3 places on CX influencers. And I just want to thank you all. And I must say that what we are doing here is actually amazing, because last year we had on the events, on the webinars and the breakfast, around 20 people, 20 speakers that came and shared with the community their insights, their projects and achievements. And also at the CX conference, we had, I believe, 15 speakers, more than 200 participants. So thank you again for being close to us. Well, let's go to work, let's say. The upcoming events for the next months before the summer break. Um, just to give you a bit of visibility of the events, in March we'll meet in Bucharest at the CX breakfast to discuss CX in B2B. The purpose of this meeting is to explore how B2B is similar and what are the differences to B2C across different industries, and how actually CX is integrating in B2B. In April, we'll dive into one of the key challenges that were highlighted by the CX maturity study, the business impact of CX and how to demonstrate return of investment effectively. In May, I believe it will be a perfect time to talk about the omnichannel approach to customer interactions and how to blend online and offline channels for a truly personalized experience. And here we're expecting to have some very good study cases. And before we head into the summer break, I suggest we raise an important topic, customer-centric culture, because after all, every initiative relies on people, and for them to deliver, they need to be engaged and also inspired. And I hope these topics will resonate with your plans, with your challenges for this year, and that these events bring you fresh ideas and also valuable insights. Well, as you know the topics for the first half of the year, I, I bring you on the table the suggestion to come as speakers. So we are looking for speakers for these topics. So if you have a great story or an achievement in CX that you would like to share, of course, how much you can share, raise your hand, give us a text message, a call, whatever you want, and we're expecting for volunteers. Okay, because what I'm thinking is that at the end of the day, this is all about the community is sharing and learning together. Now, because we have 3 more minutes until Bruce will welcome. I want to ask you, what do you think about these topics? And if you have other suggestions related the subject that we should bring on the table on the events. You can also talk in Romanian if you want. What do you think, Diana? This is, I believe, the first or second time that you are coming to the community event.
It was a very busy year, the last one. I think the subjects are of interest, at least for me. My view is that it's useful, to share and evolve. And I'm especially interested in the B2B and the customer experience business impact. I think these subjects are still, something that you can get, I would say, more information from what's happening in the market.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I also saw an interest on CX for B2B, and this is a good sign because we are not referring to customers as the final customer, but also our business partners are our customers, and they need to be treated well to collect their feedback and to have a smooth process between different departments and in all touch points. So it was said to me that we have Bruce here. Hello, Bruce.
Hello.
I'm glad you are here. We are discussing the plans for the first half of the year, and here are the topics that we want to discuss together with the community, both in webinars and also in face-to-face meetings. So if you have any suggestions, we are open to hear them.
One of the topics I always love and I always think is like a big hit is talking about design. I don't think we do enough of that, right? In design, good design, what does good design mean? How do you learn the basics of design? I feel like that's one of those skills that oftentimes we think there are people who do design and everyone else, but I think like everyone needs to have strong communication skills. Everyone in the field has to have at least a moderate sense of design, experience design. So that's a topic that I
Okay,
like.
thank you. Noted. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Who's that?
it's a real pleasure for me to introduce a true pioneer in the field of customer experience, Mr. Burce Temkin, who is also referred as the godfather of customer experience, as he is one of the most recognized thought leaders in CX, but also co-founder of Customer Experience Professionals Association. And I'm glad to stay together in the Humanity at Scale movement as one of his mentees. And today, Burce came in our community to tell us about the concept of humanity at scale and also to answer our questions. We already collected some questions from you, and also you can drop your questions in the chat or just raise your hand. Now, Burce, I will stop the share screen and
Good.
of AI and digital, speaking about humanity is something different.
So, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be part of this community. And actually, I'm just excited to see that this community exists. When I go back to 2011, 2010 actually, when we started to think about having an association of customer experience professionals. No one back then ever thought of themselves as a customer experience person, professional. People were doing work that today we would classify certainly as being customer experience work, but they were doing it in their own organizations with different names. They didn't even know that there were other people in other organizations doing similar work. And so it's always great to see when communities come together around the world and start recognizing and sharing practices, because that's all that I wanted. A little story back then too, which is the reason why I thought that it would be good to have a professional association is when I was at Forrester Research, I started to, I think I was the first analyst ever talk about a voice of the customer program, right? What does that look like? And you're thinking today, you're all much younger, you go, oh, voice of the customer program. Of course, everyone knows what that is. I can tell you that it was like new words for people. No one knew what that program would mean or what it looked like or what even talking about. But I would get, when I was at Forrester, I'd get customers from big companies asking me the same incredibly basic questions over and over and over again. And at Forrester, we charged a lot of money to get access to me. And I literally was there going, pretty much, telling people the same basic answers to their questions, and was the most popular analyst at Forrester. And I was thinking, this is weird. I'm pretty much giving the same basic answer to a bunch of different people. There has to be a more effective way for this community to learn, than to spend all of that money to get little bits of information from me. And so I realized that in order for customer experience to really blossom, it needed to have a community of professionals who, first of all, saw themselves as professionals, but more importantly, would share and would raise the level of capability across the field and across the world. So that's why it's great to see you here. Now I'll transition into what I'm doing now, and then I'll get to your questions. So, I've been sort of focused on customer experience, employee experience, experience management more generally for a long time. And during that time from, I just talked about the beginning, what it looked like, to now, what's really happened, which is wonderful, is that when I started, I can safely say, and not to be arrogant, but it's easy to say that I was the most expert in customer experience when I started. And that wasn't because I was particularly good at it. It was that I was pretty much the only one who was focusing on it full time, looking at it and researching. So I was sort of I was the best of the bunch because I was pretty much the only one in the bunch who was looking at it. But fast forward to where we're at today, there are many, many wonderful practitioners of customer experience and employee experience around the world. So much so that I feel no need to be the one who educates the world and shares the world, because there are lots of people. As a matter of fact, I haven't met many of you. I imagine that all of you have something that you can teach other people about customer experience. And so that's what's wonderful now. So anyway, I was at my last job. I was at Qualtrics. I was leading the XM Institute, which was a thought leadership publishing and research group. And I realized that what I wanted to do was have even more impact on the world. And I came up with this notion of humanity at scale. And humanity at scale, when I was trying to figure out what did I want to do next. And actually my wife said, we were talking about words as humanity at scale. And immediately I said, that's what I want to do. I want to focus on humanity at scale. Now, having said that, I had no idea what it meant. I had no idea what I was going to do with it. It was just, there was something that resonated about the term humanity at scale, because I had focused my entire career on helping organizations understand and better serve people. And also, if you look at my career, I've worked on how do you get those practices to spread rapidly across large organizations. So both of that, humanity and at scale, really fits. So then that was clarity, humanity at scale. Took me a while to figure out, okay, what am I going to do with this term now? Other than I bought the URL. I bought humanityatscale.org was available. I bought that. I had to negotiate with a company that owned humanityatscale.com to get that. So, okay, now I've got the domain. I'm not doing anything with it yet. I'm going over time. But then I took a while to say, okay, well, where do I want to focus? And then all of a sudden I got clarity on, because initially I was thinking maybe I'll focus on the human to human interaction, because Lord knows that we as a people in every country in the world need to do a better job of talking with each other, right? That the need for better humanity starts with how we look at each other, whether it's politics, and politics is making us crazy, right? No matter what side of politics you're on, it's bad, and our ability to interact. So, but then I got clarity, which is I'm going to focus on leaders. That really my strength and my focus has historically been on how do I teach leaders how to lead differently. And so that's what humanity at scale is about. It's about how do we teach leaders to lead in a way that creates more human-centric organizations. And so I'm going to focus on 4 areas. The first is to raise empathy. So get leaders to better understand human beings to begin with, right? If I understand how people make decisions, how people think, right, then I can help leaders make decisions that that into account even more. The second is to inspire aspirations. I want leaders to think about their legacy and consider their impact on the world in how they lead and have a desire to create more human-centric organizations. The third area is to spread practices. So uncover practices that leaders can follow, that leaders can adopt so that they can create more human-centric organizations. And then the final piece is I want to promote technology that supports and enhances humanity. So, technology like AI is just a tool. Tools can be used for good, for bad, for nothing. So I want to help support the evolution of technology like AI so that they do well for humanity. And that's what it's about. So I talk about Humanity at Scale as a movement to inspire and empower leaders to create a more human-centric organization. The tactics that I'm using, and you'll see in just about everything, my tagline is, if you see my shirt, it says I got a big spark up here, right? And everything I have is sparking humanity at scale, because I don't believe that I am going to create humanity at scale. I'm one person, right? It's this big world. But I do believe that I can spark a change. And by sparking a change is I'm going to focus on things where I can reach a lot of people, where hopefully some people will catch the spark, share the spark, and spark it out to others. And so I want to drive change through the stuff I'm doing. I have a Substack newsletter that I do weekly. I have a podcast that's launching in 2 weeks called Humanity at Scale, Redefining Leadership. I do like LinkedIn Live, I do speaking events, workshops, I do, webinars like this. And then later in the year, I'm going to introduce training and certification with the goal of, I think every leader can be a better leader if they're certified in human-centric leadership. And so that's it. That's my story. Before I get to your questions about CX, any questions about what I'm doing or any part of my past or Humanity at Scale?
I believe the humanity at scale concept is very interesting, as we now tend to communicate by technology, not face to face. That's why last year we had a CX breakfast for the first time, and it was incredible, appreciated, because it was this human connection, and people start knowing each other and building relationship, and then actually the energy of the group changed. And I believe nowadays we do have need this humanity and connection.
Yeah. So let me tell you something about that. So I'll go back in history. When I started the Customer Experience Professionals Association, I always think in scale. I'm an engineer in background. So I always think, how can you do things at scale and lots of people can do it? And so I was thinking that the CXPA, the Customer Experience Professionals Association, would be a digital online community. That's what I thought. That's when I started. I thought that we worked with an association management company, and they were saying, you can't do that. People want in-person stuff. They like it. So I was reluctant because I'm an introvert. You may not know this, but I'm an introvert. So the idea of having events and doing that was not sort of natural to me. But we started to have these events, and I went to my first local event. So the first local event that I went to was in Toronto. So I went up to their local networking event, and there were like 50 people in the room. It was like a huge local event, right? It was just sort of a meet and greet, and I spoke for a little bit and there. And the energy that happened when they came together was crazy. And we were like, the event was an hour and a half. After hour and a half after the event was done, people was still there talking to each other, right? We couldn't even get them to leave. And I feel like that's the energy, like you're talking about around your breakfast, right? Getting together is something that, and getting together in person is something you can't replicate, you can't take away from people. It's a need we have, and it's a powerful way to build a community.
Indeed. I have a question for you, because I read all your newsletters. And in the latest webinar, you said that 2025 is the year of AI simplicity and human connection, and it's related also to human at scale. On the other hand, on the Romanian CX maturity study, one of the first challenges is that employees seems to have no time or less few time to look at the experience from the customer's perspective, and also to use empathy in their day-to-day work. How do you see the human connection transformation the following years, taking into consideration the speed of action in our lives and also the AI involvement in the customers' interactions with the brands?
So that is a very loaded question, because there are lots of pieces to it. So let me unpack it a little and give some thoughts on it. The first is, I think that the fact that people, when I hear that people don't have time to focus on the needs of customers or customer experience, that to me is a trigger that customer experience isn't positioned correctly. And there has been, and I will say one of the areas where I feel like the customer experience movement hasn't gone in the direction that I wanted it to go is that we've lost sight of the fact that customer experience is not the endpoint of what we're looking for. We are not, we can't think that the goal is to focus on the needs of customers and just to satisfy their needs, right? That is not the goal. That is the pathway to a goal. The goal always has to be that the value of customer experience as a tool is to help the organization succeed in its goals, right? And so when I hear someone say, and by the way, I hear it universally all over the place. We don't have time to focus on customer experience. We have other things we're pushing us. I in my head, I always go, okay, we do not have a good sort of positioning here. And I'll give you an example. I was several years ago, I was in Australia, and I was working for Qualtrics, and the salespeople had been trying to get in to talk to one of the biggest retailers. And so because I was in town, it happened to be a good reason for them to try, and the two leaders of the big retailer were willing to take the meeting because I was there, right? They said, okay, well, who's this guy from America? He seems to know what he's talking about. We'll at least entertain him, entertain a discussion with him. So we went in, and the problem that they had is trying to convince these two leaders that they needed to care about customer experience. And because they were already known in the industry as delivering the best customer experience in just their work. They were like already a customer experience leader without having a formalized customer experience department. They were just sort of known for it. And so when I came in, I met with them and we had this discussion, and they said, we don't think we need customer experience. We're already doing really well. We're growing. We're growing rapidly. Customers give us good marks. We seem to be doing well. And so that's when I said, I went and said, to what degree do you think your customers are going to be buying the same products in the same way with the same requirements in the next 3 to 5 years? And they went, well, oh yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of change there. And then I just said, well, what happens if your competitors understand, learn, and cater those emerging needs faster than you do? And it was complete silence. And I said, that's what customer experience is about for you, right? It's about how do you keep on top an understanding of what your customers' needs are as they change over time, because that's what you have to do to compete effectively going into the future. And so to me, that story sticks with me all the time, because I think we need to do a better job of not just saying we're doing customer experience for the sake of helping customers have a better experience. Because I'll tell you, this is where being an engineer and an introvert really works. Because I'll say this is, I don't care if a customer is happy or unhappy. I don't care. I know you're shocked to see it. What I care about is that a customer is feeling the way that we need them to feel for our organization to succeed at what we're trying to do. And that might mean that there are some customers who aren't really strategic, who will never like your offering because it's not meant for them, and their unhappiness or happiness I could care less about unless it's going to get in the way of us succeeding. And so that requires two things. It requires us to have clarity on what we're trying to do as an organization, clarity around what are the customer segments that we're targeting, clarity around what their needs are, and clarity around what do we need to do to help them generate more whatever we need them to do in the future. Usually it's value, but it could be other things. But if we have clarity about what we want to do in the market, then we should have clarity around what we want from those segments of customers. And that's what we need to build for and design to. So that's one part of the question. I want to get at the AI and the humanity part, and human, which is that AI is a tool, like any other tool. The tool can help our goals. The tool can get in the way of our goals. And I'll give you an example of potentially both, right? That so we're we talked about human to human interaction. A lot of existing interactions in organizations, and it can be with company to the customer, company to a partner in B2B, company to an employee, right? There still is a whole bunch of human stuff, people meeting, people talking, people emailing, whatever, right? So you could replace a whole bunch of that with AI. It would be very easy to replace a bunch of that with AI. That doesn't mean that it's going to work well. That doesn't mean that it's going to satisfy the needs of any of those people touching the AI, but you could replace a lot of those with AI. So if you take away a lot of those human connections and just replace them with AI, that would be a bad thing, right? Because what'll happen is that people will get frustrated, and people will not feel like their needs are being met, right? Now, if you did it in a more strategic way and used AI, so for instance, lots of organizations are trying to improve the way they communicate with their customers, right? And trying to communicate in a consistent tone, in a useful way, what about if you ran all of your communications that go to customers through an AI filter that sort of kept you on brand and made sure that it was informative, made sure that you didn't use any trigger concepts that would make them upset, then it would help, right? It would help there. And there are also ways when we think about the human-human connection. So one of the more interesting uses of AI, I think, in terms of human engagement, and there are a bunch, but is to think about elder care, right? We're getting into a world where there are a lot of people getting older, right? And one of the things about when you get older is like anyone, you want human contact. You need to have some ongoing interaction. But for kids or caregivers, it's either impractical for you to spend your entire time with your parents or your elderly loved ones, and it can be cost prohibitive for you to hire someone to be there with them. But AI can act. There are AI mechanisms, AI offerings coming up that can act as like their personal assistant, right? Can throughout the day ask them questions. How are you doing? Have you had your medication? Go into a conversation. What did you think about the show that you watched yesterday? So engage them in ways that can sort of scale the human interact. That doesn't remove the caregivers. Like if your parents had that capability and they were older, but it can alert you, say, okay, you really need to check on your mom because she has been giving me very, very simplistic answers for the last few days. And I don't think that her cognitive skills are as good as they were. So I go back to, there are ways that I think AI can help raise humanity. There are also ways in which I think it can get in the way and hurt. It is just a tool, and how you use it is important.
Yeah, having in mind that CX is a tool, let's think to B2C industries like telecommunication or banking, how we can identify and implement CX differentiators in such commodity-like industries, that because here the customers are sensitive to price, how a company can differentiate in the market with
So,
CX tool.
yeah, great question. So to begin with, I don't believe in commodity markets. Well, I should say the only commodity markets I believe in are metals and products. Everyone else, it's not a commodity. And I think that when I think about sort of products, I don't think about, I don't think about the product as being just the product. The product includes how you get access to it, how you use it, how you maintain access to it, how you pay for it. All of the processes and elements around a product make it not a commodity. So for instance, air travel is a commodity, right? But you could say, I get on a plane, I go from point A to point B. That's pretty straightforward. But I can tell you, I fly Delta whenever I can. Buying a pencil, buying new pens, buying new paper, those might be commodities, but I go to Amazon first all the time, right? So there's a whole bunch of models out there that show that even if you sort of isolated the product and said that isolated product is commodity, that the offering is not a commodity. So you have to think about, what do you do to create stickiness with a customer who may be buying something that they care about the price and they think is easily indistinguishable from something else they might buy from someone else. So you have to think about what are the things that they care about around that, right? What are the things that make it easy for them to choose you, easy to join you? So you take friction out of the sort of choosing to buy from you. Then you eliminate reasons why they leave you, because one of the other things about even if you call it a commodity, is that there's natural stickiness with any provider, meaning that if I think that, a telecommunications provider is much cheaper than someone else, that doesn't mean I'm going to always be looking and always being changing. And there might be a few people who do that, right? If you're catering to a segment that is going to hop from price to price and they only care about, and there are some people like that. Well, for that group, it may be hard to differentiate on anything but price. So you have to decide. This is where you go. We talk about what is your customer segments. If that's a group you're chasing after, then you will be driven to try and just think of yourself in a commodity way. But in almost all markets, there are people who don't want to switch. They see switching costs as real costs, no matter what the market is, no matter how easy it is to switch, they see it as a cost. So they are open to things that drive loyalty. And what drives loyalty? Taking away friction in their ongoing work, well, how they pay the bill, what the bill looks like, understanding the bill, making it clear, not surprising them, making it easy for new customers to join up and get in, and then thinking about what are the things that you can do that enhance loyalty, right? What are the benefits, finding and creating benefits for being an ongoing customer is a good one, right? You could even have some things that you earn. So I think that if you understand the customer and look at how they use what you consider to be a commodity product, not just that the product itself, but how do they use things around it, right? How do you make it easy? If you're in financial, in banking, there are so many ways, right? Like what do you do with your money? How do you think about your money? Like, I think in the telecommunications, or in, industries like that, it might be harder, but there still are use cases. Like, how do people use the thing that you are giving them or selling them? Then ask the question, how do you make it easier for them to have more value, have more enjoyment, be easier around how they're using the thing that you're giving them or your thing that you're selling them? And I think that there's whole bunches of ways to reimagine what that is using the tools of customer experience, better segmentation, better understanding of needs, better design of those things.
Yeah, indeed. I had another question here related to retention and the customer value, but you already answered to this. In my discussions with the CX managers, a lot of them are telling about the leadership buy-in, because the company promotes that they have premium products, but the commitment to premium services somehow remains on a strategy on a paper, just like this. And the company that does not fully understand what customer experience entails and allocates limited resources without even a basic CX foundation. The question is, how can a CX manager convince the company's management team, including CEO, of course, that the customer experience direction is worth allocating human, financial, time, and effort resources for this direction?
Yeah. So this ties to sort of the discussion I had around that Australian retailer I spoke to, which is I've always whenever I'm talking to leaders, I am never trying to convince them that customer experience is important on its own. To me, I try to understand what are they trying to achieve and identify ways in which the practices of customer experience can help them better achieve the things that they want, right? Like I, and by the way, that's something that I don't see too many CX practitioners doing well. Like they'll go in and they'll try and say, oh, we need to have a net promoter score program, or we need to have a voice of the customer program. And the CEO will say, Oh, or why do we need to do that? It's because we need to better understand our customers, or we need to really, Net Promoter Score is the measure of how loyal they are to us. And the CEO will ask a few more questions and not see the relevance to their stuff. So I always, one of the things I would push you to do, and those CX managers to do, is to treat the CEO or whatever executive you're dealing with as a customer, right? Let's reframe it. They're a customer. They're a customer of your services, right? The same way you would advise the company, but now think about yourself. The CEO is the customer. Okay, if they're the customer, we want to understand what their needs are. We want to understand what they look for, what they would consider success, what they're trying to accomplish, what their, the notion of jobs to be done, what are their jobs to be done? And then ask the question internally of you, which is, okay, now that I know what that customer is and who that customer is and what that customer needs and wants, how can I help them achieve that? The same thing we would do with a customer, but do with a CEO. And then ask the next question is, with the portfolio of capabilities that I have as a customer experience manager, how can I put together a portfolio of those things that will best help my customer, the CEO, achieve the thing that he or she wants to? That's the way I would go about it. And not try and push a CX agenda, but use CX as a tool for helping that customer, your CEO, get what they want.
Thank you. I believe this answer is valuable for our participants. Do you have any questions before going further? If not, I have a question from banking area, because the security of data are very important for the company and also for the customers. And the question is how to balance customer experience with fraud attempt and fraud bureaucracy in banking, and in order to be fine also for the customers and a smooth, frictionless process, but also for the security of bank.
So I think that I have a few thoughts on that. The first is that at the end of the day, any organization has to find the line between trust and fraud avoidance, right? And that's a business decision, right? So I think that it's always important for organizations to invest in ways in which they can trust more and worry about fraud less. And it doesn't mean you worry about fraud. It means you have to constantly invest in ways in which your ability to spot fraud is much more enhanced, so that you treat fewer and fewer people who aren't having fraud as if they might have fraud, right? So that's the first step, which is how do we narrow the audience of customers who we believe are doing fraudulent activities? So that's an ongoing investment. We have to keep shrinking that pool. And you keep shrink that pool by eliminating, because the idea about fraud is that we have parameters and we're going to try and spot fraud and so we have a group of people who we spotted potential fraud. Now, that group contains both people who are fraudulent, but also those that aren't fraudulent, right? So and also the group that we didn't spot includes those as well. We didn't spot some fraudulent people. We didn't spot, so there's all this chaos going on. But whatever we can do to increase our tools to narrow in and spotting the people who are much more likely to be fraudulent can help, because then we don't have to bother all the other people. The second thing we can do is, okay, so if people are being fraudulent, how we deal with them, I don't think that's the group you're worried about. I think this question is, how do we better deal with the universe of people who aren't being fraudulent, but somehow get captured in the fraudulent analysis as being potentially fraudulent, right? Because the people who are being fraud, we're not worried about them, treat them as being fraudulent. We obviously can design and do things better there, but that's not the group. So then the question is, okay, so this group of people who are fraud triggers have identified as potentially being fraudulent, not necessarily being fraudulent. So then the question is just, how do we design the experience for them so that when I am viewed as my account may have some fraudulent activity, I don't feel like, first of all, the bank is imposing on me. I make it as easy as possible. I don't make it feel as if they think I'm being fraudulent, right? I try to make it as easy for them to unwind and that I learn from it. So there are ways in which you design any experience. And I'll give you an example of one of the things that we've done in the past, which is I've worked with a lot of healthcare providers in the US and health insurers. And one of the things that they have to do all the time is say no, right? It's a bad experience to say, like, someone will call and say, my daughter has this disease and we really want to get this this surgery, or we want to have this set of drugs. And oftentimes they're asking things that just aren't covered in the policy, right? So an insurer oftentimes has to say no in a very emotional time, right? Like you say no, but that's their business. We insured you for this, not for that. Sorry, the answer is no. So one of the things we said is, okay, no is not the same as no. Let's design the no experience, right? So the same way of, let's think about how do we design the experience of people being spotted for fraud so that it ends up with the result of the perception of those people who aren't fraudulent. So they walk out, my goal would be, they walk away thinking, my bank is on top of things. I feel more secure having gone through that. And they treated me really effectively and made it easy for me to give them the information they needed. And so I feel good about that, right? I think you can have interactions with a fraud trigger that leaves a customer feeling better about the bank if you are intentional about doing that from the beginning.
I totally agree. And also, I said from my experience that I had a voice of the customer program for collection department. Actually, the guys who are calling the customers to say, hello, you need to pay. And I had surprised that the NPS and all the KPIs were good because the team were speaking with the customers with empathy, and they recognized that the customers had maybe a financial problem, and somehow they were partners in that situation, and they want to deal with that. And even if data protection, collection, the money are very sensitive topics for a bank, for example, they can be very good handle the experience. I believe we have. Yeah.
I was gonna say collections is a wonderful parallel. I've worked with a lot of over the years. I worked with lots of different things for probably every industry, but worked on collections, and the truth is that most collections processes assume that the person isn't paying because they don't want to pay. And that is such a small minority of the people. But if your assumption of the design is based on a misunderstanding of the target for that design, you end up a whole bunch of mismatches, right? If you start thinking that the people we are reaching out to on collections are people who are actively trying not to pay us, well, then you design things that way, as opposed to there are a whole bunch of people. One of the overwhelming majority of reasons why people don't pay is because they are just they just haven't gotten around to it for many reasons, right? It just hasn't been urgent enough. There are other things going on, right? Like that's one. So if you just think about the target market a little bit differently and make different assumptions and learn more about what they are really doing, you end up having a totally different collections process.
Yeah, thank you. I believe we have some questions.
Yes, hello, Bruce. Nice to see you here, and congratulations for Humanities of Scale. I'm a follower.
Thank you.
I related to this subject, so yours, if I can make sure that I understood correctly. So you're suggesting basically to start understanding better the reasons why the people are in that segment, or why they are behaving like that, and then start redesigning the experience, with covering the process, the communication, and basically all the channels where the customer interacts, right?
Correct. So there are people are motivated by different things, and oftentimes we make assumptions about why they do what they do and how they do what they do. And sometimes our assumptions are right, right? One of the things I never want to say is we're always wrong, but we're always wrong to some degree. And when there is a mismatch between an understand, and if you don't even have to think about business, think about your personal relationships, right? When you have like a friend, let's say there's a friend or a partner, right? And they say something to you, and you think that they're saying something to be aggressive, but they're in their mind they're asking you a question. Like if I was to ask you, and I'll pick on you, Deanna, a little bit, okay? You're wearing a yellow jacket or something, or a sweater. I see yellow. If I a friend who said, um, that's an interesting choice, your yellow jacket, right? If you think that I'm saying that because I think it's ugly or doesn't look good on you, then you will respond to me in one way. Whereas what I really meant to say is, you hardly ever wear yellow, right? And it's looking really good on you, right? But it just came out way. Your response back at me in those two scenarios would be completely different, right? And what comes at that is a misunderstanding of what's in my head, even though you know me really well. Think about that same interaction with strangers who are customers across lots of different groups, right? The likelihood that we will misinterpret what they need and what they think gets pretty high there. So the better we can understand what they really need and want and why they're doing what they're doing, allows us to make lots of better, smarter choices.
Thank you for the answer. And if I may, just one follow-up question related to how you see customer voice evolving now with AI and with more digital interactions. Because in terms of understanding the needs of customers is still a point, but how to leverage the technology in order to still have this connection that you were talking about with the customer, and I understand the why, not only what they did.
So I think that the AI it has the potential to do an enormous amount of help there. To begin with, I think that there's a big gap in how we translate the information and data we have now into meaningful insights for different people who have different jobs to be done. So there's a translation layer of data that exists about customers, whether it's voice of the customer data, transactional data, whatever data we have around customers. And then people who are doing a product manager who's picking out a new product, or a contact center leader who's leading a group, who supervises a group of contact center agents. a finance manager who's making decisions about investments. Across our business, across our organizations, there are people who have jobs to be done. And it's very hard, and we have never cracked the nut on this at scale, of giving those people the insights they need about customers to help them do their jobs better. But what AI is amazing at is that translation layer, right? If we took all the data we have about customers, and I'm not even talking about, I'm going to talk about getting more data through AI in a bit, but if we took all the information we had about customers and we could run it through AI, put it into a training model, and then have people in different roles be able to have information, either query it, right? If I'm a product manager and I have product ABC and I need to decide on what is the feature I should put in my next sprint, I should be able to ask AI, query all of that, and I shouldn't have to review 4,000 reports of voice of the customer calls and all of that. I can just say, okay, I have a new sprint going on in this product. What should it be? And it should be able to take in all of that information and make recommendations. So that translation layer is going to be huge, right? On the other side, it's going to enhance the data we have about customers, because it's going to take data that we never were able to ingest before, like contact center calls, unstructured data, and bring it into our knowledge set. So it'll increase our knowledge set just from all the data we have. It's going to add to that translation. So I think it's going to be really, really helpful in having us have a better understanding of what, once again, I shouldn't say it's going to be. What I should say is it can be, because remember, it's a tool. And it will only do those things if people choose to do those things with it and do it effectively, right? It has the potential to do those things.
Thank you.
I believe we have another question. Ioana?
Yes. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Bruce, for the valuable information you already shared with us. And my question will be, from your experience and taking into consideration your whole journey to CX, I would like to ask you, what advice would you give to a CX enthusiast looking to turn their passion into a professional career in CX?
That's easy. Do it. Just do it. It's a great career. So here's what I would suggest. I'm kidding a little bit, but I think how you think about the direction of your career as a CX person, as a CX professional, is important, right? I think that if I was someone who wanted to get in the field now, I would say that I'd look at what are the skills that are going to allow me to differentiate and be a really valuable professional in an organization with those skills. And so clearly, I hate to do this. I feel like I'm one of the people who always talks about AI, but you better build your AI skills, right? You better, the stuff that I'm talking about how AI is going to be useful in the CX field. If you're getting your career, you better be on top of that, right? You better understand AI, spend time better, using it and applying it wherever you can. So that's one thing I'd say. The second thing I would say is I believe that the foundation for really good CX people are better understanding the neuroscience and behavioral design of human beings. How do people think and behave? Like I always, when I describe my career, so this happened. So when I left Forrester, I created Temkin Group, right? And for 8 years, we had this really, really great company till we were acquired by Qualtrics. And after 4 years of, we were doing CX stuff for the largest companies. We were a little company. And the largest companies on earth were asking us to help them, right? And I realized that we were doing something different than what everyone else was doing. So about 4 years in, I step back and say, okay, why are people hiring us even after they've hired McKinsey for $20 million or Bain for $50 million, whatever those people are, they still come to us for our much smaller, much more targeted practice. And I realized that what we did is we started with a deeper understanding of human beings. And everything we did was built around that deep understanding of human beings, right? Why do people do what they do? Why do people think the way they think? What triggers people to behave differently? So I would say if you're going to be a CX enthusiast, you need to build and always be building a deeper, richer understanding of that just core human behavior and understanding, right, that you can build around. So there's AI, it's a continual journey on the AI, on the human being stuff. AI, human being. The third area is design, right, which blurs into that human thing. But how do you create environments that trigger people to do things in ways that you want them to do things? So design, have the feelings you want them to have. And then the final piece I would say is communication skills, right? I'll sometimes do training on storytelling, and I will oftentimes say that if you have two skills, right? If you have people who have strong knowledge and people who are good storytellers, the good storytellers will win all the time in terms of their advancement of their careers, right? So storytelling, communications, you have to have it, right? Because in CX, if you think about it, we are change agents, right? We're not like accountants where you walk into your job and they say, okay, here's your job description. You're going to do you're going to do the same thing that generations and generations and generations of people have done the same way, right? All you need to do is come in and do what they've been doing and keep doing it. That's not what we do. So we have to, all the things we've been talking about is how do we get organizations to change and do things differently? Well, you need to be able to communicate very effectively. So I would say, so my answer is do it, focus, make sure you build up your skills in understanding human beings, AI, communications, and design.
Great. Thank you very much.
Great answer. Great
Very
question.
inspiring, yeah. Thank you.
So it's almost 5:30 in Romania p.m. Do you have any other questions for Bruce? Sorry. Bruce.
So the cough, I know, a question for you guys. Do you have like coughs and a flu going around there? Because it's rampant around here.
I'm the victim.
See, a lot of shaking the head. So look at this. You're in Romania. I'm in the US and Florida. Yet we share so much. Like flu season.
Including the viruses.
Yes.
Thank God that we don't have a pandemic.
Oh.
But actually, a collateral beauty, let's say, for the pandemic, is actually this connection outside our country. Because during the pandemic period, we could attend webinars, conferences, different events. And actually, it was good that we expanded our knowledge. And let's see the good part of this period.
I like that. The silver lining.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruce. It was truly inspiring for us. And this is the first event of this year, and I'm extremely happy that we started this year with you. And now we have this energy and and vibration, very positive on CX. We'll keep you posted with what we are doing here in Romania.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Make Romania a CX hotspot. And I appreciate you having me. And it's great to be the first one, but it was great talking to you, and good luck.
Thank you very much. Before before finishing this event, I just want to show you an initiative. Just a second to share my screen. I believe you see now my screen.
Yep, I
Is
see
it
me.
okay?
Yep.
Okay, so after we had Bruce, I want to tell you about an initiative because I talked with a lot of CX managers, and they said that, okay, we have a strategy, but we also need some feedback on the strategy, on our programs, on our projects. So I was thinking to this CX advisory board, and this will be a program for three months. And it will be only for maximum 6 CX leaders. And what we want to do with this is that in these 3 months, each company will have this CX advisory board with 6 members and also myself. And for 3 hours in the company, we can give feedback, ask questions, and see things from different perspectives. And also, the participants will be in sessions of one-to-one mentoring with me, and for three sessions. And also, I believe it's a good opportunity to have a retreat of CX for innovation and also for expertise, with 2 days in the mountains to learn, to have workshops and hands-on learning opportunity. So I leave you here the the link for this CX advisory board. This program was made after discussions with CX leaders from companies, and I hope I hope you'll be there, and I hope also I'm curious who will be these 6 managers who want to have this CX advisory board in their company for three months. This being said, I would like to thank you all for your contribution and energy during this webinar. I remain at your disposal for any topic and to answer your questions. And I want to thank again Stefano and Joman for their support of the community, and to see you next month at the CX breakfast discussing about CX in B2B. If you